After Naughty Dog dropped their dynamic duo bomb that was Jak and Daxter on the PS2 in 2001, Insomniac told Naughty Dog to hold their beer for a while. Then in 2002, Insomniac dropped their own dynamic duo, Ratchet and Clank. The difference between the two was that Ratchet and Clank was all about the weapons and lots of them, combining it with platforming, something they were very familiar with because of a little series called Spyro the Dragon. It reviewed very well back then and has become a staple of the PlayStation brand, spawning 17 games, with the most recent one being Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart in 2021. It also got a movie tie-in with the reboot of the game with the same name that was released the same year. Apparently it's the other way around. I don't know nor really care. So after the stars asked me, and now I'm asking y'all, after 21 years, does the first Ratchet and Clank hold up? Did the series really deserve 17 games when some only got 4? Is Skid McMarks really the best hoverboarder and deserves to be champion? Let's find out.
Oh, and by the way, you can stop calling me sir. The name's Ratchet.
Pleased to make your acquaintance, sir.
You got a name?
My serial number is B54296.
Oops. I'll just call you Clank for short. Hang on.
Our story starts off with Ratchet working on his ship, looking off into space, longing for the days that he can travel it. Then we cut to a factory churning out robots. One of the robots that's produced is a defective robot. This is when we're introduced to Clank. Once he sees what his assignment is, he flees the factory, being chased by 2 other robots from the factory. They shoot Clank down, leading to him crash landing on Ratchet's planet and near his home. Ratchet sees the crash and goes to investigate. When Ratchet gets to the crash site, he sees Clank deactivated. Ratchet takes Clank home with him because why not? It's a free robot. While Ratchet is working on his ship, Clank wakes up, scaring Ratchet in the process. Clank tells him that he's looking for Captain Quark because the solar system is in trouble. Clank shows Ratchet this info bot that explains what's going on. There's this guy named Chairman Drek that is taking pieces of other planets to make the ultimate planet for him and his people. Their home planet is polluted and overpopulated, so instead of trying to clean it up, they feel this is the best option for them. He also tells all the surrounding planets that if they don't like it, they can kiss his ass.
And if you don't like it, you can take your whiny, sniveling, snot-nosed populations, form a line behind me, and kiss my... We're still on? Well, turn it off, you idiot!
After learning this, Ratchet decides to help Clank. As they leave to go find Captain Quark, Chairman Drek sees their ship and tells this mysterious figure to take care of it. We cut to Ratchet and Clank crash landing on Novelist. After exploring, they save this old man that is scared for his life. He gives them this infobot so they won't hurt him. On this infobot, it shows that Captain Quark is in Metropolis at Big Al's Robo Shack. The old man gives them a ship to go there, so they do. When Ratchet and Clank get to Big Al's Robo Shack, they ask Al about Captain Quark. Al tells them he hasn't seen him since they filmed the commercial. Al gives Clank a helipack upgrade to help them on their adventure to find Quark. After that, Ratchet and Clank leave Metropolis to find Quark. After placing first in a hoverboard race, Ratchet and Clank are finally able to meet Captain Quark. When they talk to Captain Quark, he tells them he knows who they are, that he's been watching them and wants to team up to stop Chairman Drek. Before that, he wants Ratchet and Clank to come to his secret base to see if they...
Can you quickly conquer Quark's killer cannonade of confounded contraptions? Can you quickly Oh, just make your way through the defenses to the center of the base.
After Ratchet and Clank make it to Captain Quark's base, they quickly
conquer Quark's killer cannonade of confounded contraptions.
When they finally meet with Captain Quark, his true intentions are revealed. Quark is working with Drek. Quark was the mysterious figure that we saw Drek talking to earlier. So Quark drops Ratchet and Clank in this pit with this monster, then leaves them to die there. Ratchet and Clank take down the big monster in the pit. Now Ratchet is all about taking down Quark for betraying them, not caring about the planet destroying stuff Drek is doing. Clank tries to keep Ratchet on the task at hand, but Ratchet just doesn't give a fuck. They find another ship, then leave Quark's secret base to go find him. Eventually, Drek finds out they're not dead and is not happy about it. He tells Quark to get rid of them or his endorsement is gone. Quark can't believe he would do such a thing because that's all he cares about. So this culminates into a space battle between Quark and Ratchet. After defeating Quark, Ratchet realizes he's been selfish after seeing another planet destroyed by Drek and an infobot. Ratchet and Clank find another ship to go take down Drek. Before that, Ratchet and Clank take down the robot factory that Clank comes from to stop more robots from being made. While there, they learn that Drek is about to destroy Ratchet's home planet, Veldin. This gets Ratchet fired up to take down Drek for good. When Ratchet and Clank get to Veldin, they finally confront Drek. They take him on in multiple battles. The battle ends with Drek flying into his own planet, followed by Ratchet and Clank using this super powerful laser Drek built to blow up planets. After a near-death experience falling from a really high place, Ratchet and Clank become friends, and then the game ends. I think this story was super good despite some of the weaker elements being at the forefront. That being Ratchet and Clank along with some of the story beats. I'll get into those in a second, but what really carries this story is the comedy. A lot of the comedy in this game is absolutely top notch. The first one that got a good laugh out of me is when the news reporter gets eaten. In this instance, Clank shows more humanity than Ratchet. Clank hopes she's okay, and Ratchet doesn't give a fuck. He's more concerned about the hoverboard races. I find that shit to be hilarious.
Yes, I hope that poor woman is all right.
She's fine, I think. I was talking about the hoverboard races.
The second one for me is when Ratchet and Clank get to Quark's secret base. Quark is on this tiny helicopter yelling at them with this megaphone. He also acts like he can't hear Ratchet and Clank even though he can. Once again, absolutely hilarious.
Haven't we done enough already?
What? I can't hear you.
I said, haven't we done?
Sorry, still having trouble. Tell me later.
Later? We might be dead by then.
What?
All right, Clank, let's get going.
My other favorite is when Drek calls in his elite squad to take out Ratchet and Clank. The thing is that they're acting like children when Drek is giving them orders. Not only that, they strike a pose like the Ginyu Force. Top fucking notch.
To destroy those troublemakers. Now go! Oh, and if you have to destroy Gadgetron to get rid of them, so be it.
My last one is after you beat the game. It's also during the game, but for one moment. That being Quark becoming a salesman after he's defeated in the space battle. Then being in an infomercial of some sorts after you beat the game, selling some personal hygiene thing that turns the commercial X-rated somehow. Once again, top fucking notch.
Steve McQuark. And this little baby can take care of any grooming needs that are just too much trouble for you to handle yourself. Allow me to demonstrate. Yeah. Oh, mommy.
Turn it off! Turn it off!
There are so many moments like this in this game that I could be here for another 20 minutes, but I'm not. Now, on to the things I really didn't care for. That being our protagonist, Ratchet and Clank. The reason why is because they're extremely one note. Ratchet is what I would call a radical 90s teen. The reason why I'm calling him that is because he's all about thrill-seeking adventures. Not only that, he's into extreme sports like hoverboard racing. Also, he's a bit of a brat, something I can't fucking stand. These were common traits of teen characters in the 90s. It makes sense in the grand scheme of things with the game coming out in 2002, so the 90s wasn't that long ago. The problem is that after a while, Ratchet becomes annoying because while the solar system is at stake, he's more concerned about meeting skidmic marks or obtaining new gadgets. There's a point in the story where he gets mad at Clank when Quark betrays them, making it seem like it's all Clank's fault even though he was with him the whole time. After that, out of nowhere, he does a complete 180, realizing he's been an asshole to Clank for no reason, that he hasn't been taking any of this seriously, and it feels so hollow. Them becoming friends at the end feels hollow because the friendship was never really there. The only reason why he comes to this revelation is because a story is supposed to have that. It's so cookie cutter character development that it could have been a part of a cookie assembly line. That's the reason why I said the story beats are a problem for me, because they are cookie cutter. When it comes to Clank, he is basically C3PO but cooler. That's where it begins and ends. Now I know some of y'all are probably gonna say I'm being too hard, but I'm kinda not. Reviews around this time was saying the exact same thing, so I'm not the only one. It's just hard to see our protagonists be so bland with how good the villains and side characters are. Fortunately, the rest of the cast and comedy was able to make up for our lacking in the personality department main characters.
You sure showed him.
I suppose I did.
Visually, this game has a lot going for it, particularly in the levels. Some of these levels are just downright awesome. There are plenty of areas you explore with different biomes. There are so many that it could be talked about for 20 minutes plus easily. So as usual, I'm just going to talk about two of my favorites. The first one is the resort on planet Pokitaru. This is the only place in the game that has a nice tropical setting that's really inviting. This is contrasted by all the battleships flying around as they're getting ready to take over the place. Pair this up with hostile sea creatures that try to kill you as you explore. Even with all that impending doom, I would still visit and stay for a while. Hopefully I won't get killed by doing it. Our last one is Metropolis on the planet Kerwan. Or at least that's how I think you pronounce it. This one is exactly what it is, a bustling metropolis. It has skyscraper for days along with flying cars zooming everywhere. Plus it's home to Big Al's Robo Shack, so that's an instant dub in my opinion. Now let's talk about the combat, which is fun but torture at the same time. Let me explain, my fellow Lombax. This game has a ton of weapons that you can use. Some are more useful than others, but they are fun nonetheless. There are 15 weapons total, so I'm only going to go over my favorites. There are technically more than that, but I'll talk about those later. Just a quick heads up, there's going to be a general theme with these weapons I go over. I will explain in grave detail why later on. First is the bomb glove. This weapon gives you the ability to throw bombs, and that's it. Next is the glove of doom. This one is super fucking dope. This glove throws these metal spheres that spit out these little robots. These little robots find the closest target and explode. When they're not doing that, they follow you around maniacally laughing and making weird noises. It's so fucking cool. After that is the mine glove. This one spits out mines that lock on the enemies when they get too close. That's all. Second to last one is drone device. This one is more like a barrier comprised of mini bomb drones. This comes in clutch for enemies that get a little too close for your liking. Not only that, the drones will fly off on their own and attack enemies depending on how close they are. Then last but not least is the Tesla cannon. This gun shoots out arcs of lightning that can take out a group of enemies in little to no time. The range on this gun is ridiculous as well. I will say the biggest problem with this gun is that the gun is inconsistent. Sometimes the arc of electricity will hit them but not do any damage. Even with that, it still slaps. Now, I must ask, have you picked up on the theme of all these weapons? If you haven't, I'll tell you. All of these weapons require no aiming in the slightest. Why, you may be asking? Well, that's because the aiming in this game fucking sucks. That's because it's all based on Ratchet's orientation, not camera based like today's games are. That means you have to have Ratchet facing the enemy you want to shoot. This becomes extremely annoying when you have enemies surrounding you and you have to move around to dodge them. This is not a big deal if you use the weapons I went over because they do all the hard work on their own. Now there is a lock-on system, but that fucking sucks too. Here's a clip showing you why it's fucking garbage. I rest my case. Insomniac tried to help us out with the first person aiming mode, but this sucks as well. The reason why is because it leaves you stationary. Let's add on top of that bullet drop per se, unless it's rockets, and even then those have a cutoff. Let's not forget the fact that certain enemies have weapons too and can shoot you from a distance. Now do you see why I love these weapons outside of how cool they are? Let me say this before people get mad. I understand that twin stick aiming that is baked into gaming nowadays wasn't really a thing back then. If not around or in its infancy, but at the end of the day, this shit fucking sucks. The other weapons I was referring to earlier are golden weapons. First, you have to find golden bolts. These are hidden throughout each level. You also have to have a certain amount of regular bolts. These are the currency of the game you use when you buy weapons or ammo from the vendor. The only other weapon is the Rhino. This one is hella expensive at 150,000 bolts.
Rhino for your robot. Trade ya.
Well, okay.
Ratchet.
I'm kidding. Sorry, he's not for sale. What's a rhino anyway?
Rip ya a new one.
What did you just say to me?
R-Y-N-O. Rip ya a new one.
Why, that's the most powerful missile launcher in the galaxy. I know it's worth a lot of bolts. He must have stolen it from the Blarg.
Stolen? Look, trash can. Did I say's anything about it being hot? You better watch your mouth or I'll...
Wait, don't tell me. Rip you a new one.
Ratchet also has gadgets at his disposal, but they're really only used in specific moments, so they're not really worth going over. I will say, the sections where you have to use the magnet boots are really cool, even though there are not many of them, which kinda sucks. I will also say the gravity boot sections are fucking awesome, even though I kinda suck at them, but that's besides the point. The best one in my opinion is on Altanis. While you're grinding, you're being chased by robots. There are also mines being dropped in front of you as well. It's super cool. Ratchet is also a nimble little linebacker. He has to because there's tons of platforming. It makes up majority of the game. He can dodge by doing backflips and jumping from side to side. This can be done by pressing R1 and X in whatever direction you want to go in. You can also shoot while doing this, but after what I just told you about the aiming, there's no point. Ratchet isn't the only one that can do things, Clank can too. The first thing is that in certain sections, Clank can control these little robots. These little robots can help him get past doors or attack enemies. Clank gets turned into a giant robot in a few certain sections, which is really cool. He gets guns, rockets, and some sort of unibeam. That's all he gets, but these are some awesome sections for him. The last two things I want to talk about are the hoverboard races and the space battles. When it comes to the hoverboard races, I'll keep it quick because they're bullshit. Basically, if you're not perfect, just reset the race to save yourself some time. If you don't believe me, go fucking play them. On the other hand, the space battles are awesome on so many levels. There are two in total. The first one's when you take down Quark. It's done in a way that reminds me of Star Fox 64, and that's always a win in my book. Hashtag free my nigga Star Fox, hashtag free my nigga F-Zero. They didn't do nothing wrong. The second one is when you take out these turrets on the space station. This one you get the free fly, which is pretty cool compared to being stuck behind Quark. The lock on is pretty good here too, which doesn't make any sense, but whatever. There are plenty of things I'm glossing over or probably missing. The thing is that I have to leave things for y'all to discover whenever you play. Before we go though, I have to say this real quick. Fuck the hacking minigames. Fuck the checkpoint system, if you even want to call it that. Fuck Drek and his boss battle. His boss battle is the reason why I hate the checkpoint system. Okay, I'm done. Let's wrap this up.
It is never too late to acquire the latest in the long line of quality products from Gadgetron. I have for you, today only, the Gadgetron PDA.
Public display of affection?
No, personal delivery assistant.
Despite how hard I was being on this game, I really did enjoy my time with it. With that being said, I will never return to this one, but it does get me hyped for the sequels. I can't wait to see how they improve on the movement, aiming, characters, etc. This game definitely left a good impression on me, and I can see why it's been around for so long.